Hey guys, I'm Richard Fitzgerald. This is Dubai Works, where we interview the business leaders making a difference in this great city. Last interview of the year. It's a good one. One of the announcements on Smashy Business Instagram and website and everything this week was that Qashio announced a partnership with Emirates. It's 2 years since we spoke to Qashio on our Arabic interviews. So they're back again today, and it's been a fascinating story. I'm sure you'll enjoy the conversation. There's other news that happened this week. Mamo, another fintech, partnered with Visa in the UAE, and in the crypto space, Phoenix announced 25% investment in a company as well. So that's a good crypto story to follow as the sector bounces back. There's loads of other announcements. It hasn't slowed down as ever in this business dynamic part of the world that we live in. I hope you've enjoyed listening to the interviews this year. As I said, there's another good one coming up, so enjoy the conversation. Welcome back to another episode of Dubai Works Business Podcast. This week, our guest is Armin Moradi. He's the co-founder and CEO of Qashio. Armin brings insights into overcoming traditional expense management challenges, digital innovations, navigating post-COVID, I can't believe it's 4 years ago already, but financial landscape and financial empowerment, emphasizing the importance of educating businesses about financial technologies and their potential. Good morning, Armin.
Good morning.
Armin, thanks a lot for coming in. It's the last episode of the year. We're winding down to the year, so we have a lot to chat about what you guys have done this year and looking forward to next year.
Absolutely. No, thank you for having me here, and thank you for having us here just before the new year. It gives us an opportunity to tell the audience about what's happening next year.
Absolutely.
and to reflect over the previous year at the same time.
Yeah. So before we kind of delve into, because I know I know Qashio has achieved a lot in 2023, but can you just tell us the background? Elevator pitch, what is Qashio?
So it's a long story, and I'll keep it short. It started as an expense management platform in the most traditional manner, where we would issue corporate cards for our B2B clients. We only work with businesses, and it's grown into something much bigger today, where we are a platform of solutions for business essentials, and this is everything from your corporate cards, your financial software, health insurance for your staff. We have lending products, we issue bank accounts, and we also very recently announced an exclusive partnership with the Emirates Skywards as the only B2B provider who can give Skywards miles on business expenses. And the whole concept where we are today is to make sure that a business can go into a single platform and work with previously fragmented solutions or fragmented processes for a finance and a HR team in a single place. And the idea came about almost 3 years ago, when I was a finance director for quite a large organization with over 30 subsidiaries, and I was sitting every Tuesday evening between 5 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. For the staff to come and do the online expenses on the corporate card for me to give them the OTP. And this could be from the marketing team wanting to upload a new marketing campaign on Google or Facebook, or somebody needed to travel. We actually had people that missed traveling on time because there was nobody to give them the OTP to buy the flight tickets, and they didn't want to use their own money. It could also be to pay your Diva bills, or for us to transfer money for government expenses to our PROs. Identifying that being an issue, more out of the pain that I was personally feeling, we thought about what can we do to ease this problem, and we started to look at how does this look in the rest of the world, and we found some American companies and European companies that have solved for the problem much better than a bank would do, because it didn't seem like it interested banks to do what we're doing. So at the start, we thought of a cookie cutter copy of an American company called Brex, and Brex. BREX.
Okay.
They are by far the largest company in the world, doing what we originally were set to do. So we looked at how they were doing it, and we thought, let's just copy paste that and bring that to the Middle East and launch it in Dubai to start with. As we were going through the journey and we started to reach out to our network to try to have those early clients, we got feedback, which I think helped us a lot to understand that it's not about simplifying one part of the process to just give a corporate card, which was the original idea. The clients here require much more sophistication in what you provide them than they do in the US or in Europe, primarily because of the type of talent that you have, the way that businesses are set up here and operated. A very good example is if you go to Europe or the United States, more than 90% of the workforce are either Europeans or Americans. You don't have the same need for government expenses as you do here. So we had to cater for that as a challenge as well, especially when it comes to something called KYC, know your customer, right? And the security around that as well. How do we adjust that for the market here? And eventually we managed to build a software, a KYC process, fit into all of the anti-money laundering rules that you have in this region, which are stringent and more controlled than other regions. And to be able to even get the client to want to go through that process, you need to give them even more than just a basic product. So we built the software around it as well. And as we learned that, the corporate card now with the software and integrations, now we got something solid. And, we started to scale. And then we started to get feedback again from the clients. It's like, I struggle to get health insurance because of A, B, C, D reasons. So we went on that journey to look, how can we solve for that? Another issue was, I open a bank account, but I have other issues when I open the bank account. There's certain type of transactions that take long, especially in receivables. How can you solve for that? So we look for a solution for that. And the biggest pushback we always got when onboarding a client, for us, it's very interesting for the client to spend as much as possible on the corporate cards because that's where we make our money. We don't charge the fee from the client, but we get a commission from our scheme partner, whether that is Visa or MasterCard. So the more the client spends, the more money we make. And the biggest pushback we got was, I want Emirates Skywards miles. Mm-hmm. So we jumped on that journey. Took us about 2 years from when we started that engagement until we went live a day before yesterday, actually. So having that live now where you have that platform of solutions that a business need, we really feel that the next year is going to be interesting for us and our clients.
Fascinating. We'll talk a little bit more about Emirates because I know it's exclusive and it's just recently announced, but there's been a number of partnerships as well. But just sort of reverting back, one question about the product itself and then about your journey into that moment of OTP to startup, OTP pain. Yeah, so, the product itself, right? So when you say a corporate card, and I know regular listeners to the show will have heard this solution before, but what we're talking about here is everyone has a corporate credit card, and often companies have an expense management system. Some is a Google form, some is another part where you submit your expenses. But the original idea was that it helps the transaction that doesn't use the corporate card, doesn't use the personal expenses. So you created a card that the corporate card or the company would top up, make sure that they're not giving it to any intern or junior that they can go book flights to Maldives or whatever, and that there's enough credit on that card that can do what's needed, whether it's a flight, whether it's a hotel, whether it's paying for a dinner with clients. So that's how you do it, right?
Yeah, more or less. I think it's a little bit more nuanced, and it is the controls that you get with the platform that really adds value to businesses. It's definitely in line with what you're saying. We provide you a platform. On that platform, you can issue as many cards as you want for your employees, right? Under their own names.
And it's a physical card.
Yeah, both physical and virtual cards. Yeah. So you select that. You can have multiple cards for the same employee for various purposes. So if you take a sales team as an example, right? A traveling sales team, they might need to have a card for travel expenses because that is managed by, let's say, their line manager. The approval of them being allowed to travel and spend a budget is with the line manager. Then they might have another card for employee or for customer entertainment, and that might come out of a marketing budget. So you can then let the approval of loading that separate card to come out of the marketing department. You can lock this card and say, this only works on restaurants. And you can lock the other card in and say, this only works with even a specific airline or with hotels and travel agencies. So this gives a sense of control or actual control to the business. And it also gives flexibility for the employee to manage the budget that they need to manage. And it just helps in reducing internal politics on who do I go and ask for something. It removes sending a million emails back and forward. Not all companies use these tools like Slack or Microsoft Teams chat and so on. So, and you have all of the audit trail in a single platform. So the value of the solution is not necessarily the first thing you think about, which is, now I have access to a corporate card. That's just a tool. It's like you can build a house with tools, but you also need the material, and you also need to have a blueprint. You also need to have an idea on how you want that to look. So we provide the tool, and we work with the companies to design how their internal policies and processes look like, maybe help them modernize it a little bit based on best case scenarios that we've seen from other clients. So when you go live with Qashio, it makes an impact internally, a positive impact internally.
How much admin is involved in it? I'm thinking of really granular technical things of say someone tops up the marketing budget for an entertainment meal for 5,000 dirhams, and I am at dinner with my clients and the bill comes to 5,021 dirhams.
Yeah.
Then I can't use the card.
Yeah, the last 21 dirhams, you will need to cough up yourself.
Cough up yourself, fair enough. I mean that's not really a problem, I guess, for most people. But but there is a level of, you mentioned the OTP pain, right? But there still is a level of, I need to guess this in advance. I need to top up the cards accurately. But you think that's easy, or you think that relieves the future pain?
I think that's a very good question to start with, because it answers a quite complex scenario, right? And this happens often. So one of the good things is, so we have approval workflows inside of the system. So if you're at the restaurant and you have 5,000 on the card and you need another 21 dirhams, you can submit an approval on your phone and it goes through a process. Some companies have an auto approval for 100 dirhams or 200 dirhams for that purpose. On another card, there might be a completely different approval workflow. So all of this can be solved with, like the edge case scenarios can be solved for. The most important thing in having these limits is that you can set the budget for something. So in a marketing department, you might have a marketing budget of 100,000 for online marketing, and you have two people in that department. So they can draw down from that $100,000 or 100,000 dirham budget until that is finished, before that needs to go through another approval workflow, however that looks like. But one of the things that it forces companies to do is to actually put controls to their budget. So, as I say, I want my clients to spend more on my cards, does not mean that I want them to waste their money. I want them to put a budget in place and utilize our cards for the expenses they already have, and actually find a way to reduce how much money they spend by being in control.
Yeah. I mean, obviously people have their budgets for marketing and those dinners and entertainment and everything like that. But talk to me, Armin, a little bit about the, not just the choice of the business model, but the fees. Credit cards have fees. How do you plug into that? Like, how does it technically work?
So we don't charge any money on the fees that you would traditionally have on the cards. What we charge for is for the software. So our software comes with many different versions, and it's a modular software. And the reason why we decided to take that approach is we don't want to charge our clients for what they are not using, right? So if you go to one client, just to make it simple, you go to one restaurant, he might want to follow certain processes and have an advanced budgeting feature as part of their solution, while the other restaurant literally just want one card for petty cash purchases. the one who only wants a petty cash spend on the card should not need to pay for a software that he's not using. So that way we can go down to and cover people that only want one tool, but we can also cover big enterprises, the likes of Mediclinic as an example, that have extremely complex requirements with a lot of different modules in place to be able to execute on their needs. So to go back to your question, it was a very long-winded way to give an answer. We don't charge anything on the card. We don't have any fees. We charge for a fixed fee for the software, depending on what tools you need.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, fair enough. And I really want to get into the weeds of the software as well. But so 3 years ago, you're still working in and had you done a startup before, or was this something that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I started in corporate, and I worked in corporate, and I left corporate. So I worked in Oracle with financial software. Before it was called fintech, it was called financial technology and software. So that's how long ago
I got a cooler acronym.
Oh, yeah. So I worked with similar products. I had some global banks as my clients, and I worked a lot with accounting software for the Fortune 500 companies, and also for smaller companies. Smaller companies in the world of Oracle was anything above 1,000 employees. That was a small company. Mm-hmm. So I felt that what we are doing for these big, large corporates is the same thing that SMEs need, because we talk to the SMEs a lot, and we were too expensive. So I thought to myself, but there is a massive market to cover. So I jumped ship and I started my own company. I call it Lightcone. Nobody knows what it means. I Googled, how does the future meet the past? Apparently, it's through a light cone, a cone that light goes through. That's Einstein's theory of time travel. I thought I had the coolest name in the world. Nobody understood it. So I started that company, doing almost what we're doing now without the element of the card. And I exited that company in 2018 to a Dutch publicly traded company who took over our solution and our software house at that point. And that was my journey into entrepreneurship. Continued to work at Delivery Hero as a managing director for Carriage. At that time, it was really a startup. I joined the journey as they decided to merge Carriage into Talabat. I was a managing director for Saudi and UAE. Yeah, and I got a completely separate set of concept when it came to startup. These guys knew how to run a startup. When I was running my own startup, I had to figure everything else out. So I did that for a while, for about 1.5 years, until the merger was done. I worked with Talabat for about 6 months before I decided that I want to go and do something more traditional, relax a little bit, distress. And that was like in the pandemic when Talabat went from this to, I don't know how many X they grew.
So you called doing a new startup less stress?
No, I actually went. I went and I worked for the Oman Sovereign Wealth Fund for their retail and F&B arm, and just sit there. I thought, you know what, I'm going to be a finance director. I come from a finance background. I understand software. I will bring like this modern way of thinking into this traditionally slow-moving type beast. And I went there and realized traditional businesses are not as much as dinosaurs as I thought it would be. They had all of the systems in place. They had all of the processes in place. They just missed a couple of tools, and that one tool was this. The most painful tool that we were missing was this, what Qashio ended up being. So I was there for a while, about a year before I decided that I wanted to go and do something else.
Yeah, fascinating. But so the when you exited the first company, was that the intention? Did you kind of want to exit it, or was it just circumstantial, something that happened? And then to do something similar again, was it kind of like, I learned from that, I've had a few more experiences, and I'm going to apply that knowledge?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So when I started the business, it was always like everybody, you hear it very often. My dream is to start my own business. And I had no intention whatsoever in exiting the company. It was just when the offer came, it was like, it will take me 10 years to make this amount of money.
How much was it?
A lot. A lot.
Over $1 million?
Yeah, much more.
Okay. And had you raised money for that business?
No, so we bootstrapped that one, me and my partners. And I think one of the reasons that we all decided that we wanted to exit it, because we got to the point where if we wanted to scale, we had to raise money, and I had zero experience from it, neither did my partners. So we started to reach out to a couple of VCs or private equity firms and try to pitch. And, because we were net profitable, nobody was interested at that point. This is in 2017, 18. Everybody wanted that 20x, and we're like, no, we 20x, no, we have this traditional net profitable way and of doing business and so on. So we really struggled to raise money to be able to scale. And I think as we were trying to do this other company, we actually had two companies, both from Europe, who wanted to acquire us. Our business was in Africa and Middle East, so the European companies wanted to come in and grab these emerging markets, right? So they came and they did a fair market valuation, and they said, this is how much your company is worth. We will pay X amount above that because you are net profitable. And that's when me and my partners went like, wow, that's a lot of money, and we'll take it, and then we go and drink mojitos on the beach. Yeah. So
that's what happened with that business. Well, that's a great success story. It's good to have that exit. And what was your thinking then? You obviously told us what you did next, but did you have some regret while you were with the stress of Talabat or with the Sovereign Wealth Fund that you weren't still running this fast-growing startup yourself?
I don't. You see, at Delivery Hero or Carriage and then Talabat, it was very fast-paced, but they were organized in their fast pace. I think we moved much faster in those organizations than I did in my own. And one of the things that I really liked, because I believe it's still the same. It's a startup environment with very little bureaucracy in Talabat, at least when I was there. But there was a lot of innovation that happened all the time. So it was very, very, very fast paced. What I regretted from leaving my own business was that I was not in full control of making all of the decisions. The good thing with that is most decisions you make in an early stage startup are mistakes that you have to learn from. At Talabat and Delivery Hero, a lot of those mistakes that I wanted to make, somebody else had already done and learned from. So the regret would be I was no longer in control of my own decisions, but at the same time, I didn't need to make a mistake to learn everything. Somebody else have done it for me.
So you're not, neither are you in control, but you're also not really learning properly.
Yes.
Yeah. It's fascinating to sort of hear the way that you went from, that you have the different sides of things and the back and forth bit, because people listening will be thinking, okay, well, often entrepreneurs sit here and one of the things they really like is the freedom. You described it as control, but you're ultimately responsible. It's not actually freedom. There's a lot of mistakes and, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but you just, you that what you're doing can have results and impact, positive or negative. And I think that's something that can't really be replicated in a company that's been around for a long time.
True. To build on what you said is freedom. I feel that you're less free in your own company because everything rides on you. Sure, it is the freedom that you have is I have the freedom to make whatever decision I want. But if you make the wrong decision, and if you make the wrong decision multiple times, you also have to understand that you're responsible for every single person that works in that company, because especially at the early stage. They have probably taken a salary cut to come work for you in the hopes of maybe making some money out of the shares that you give them. They believe in your vision. A lot of the time, you will not find in at least our company a single person that is working with us because it's a job. It's because they believe in the vision and they want to contribute. So it's very important to really respect the fact that they took a leap of faith in you. And I feel that that is not freedom. I think that is more accountability and responsibility. Simultaneously, on the flip side of it is the fiduciary responsibility you have towards your clients, first and foremost, right? They are the one who keeps the light on. As much as we want to believe it's the investors, the investors will not invest in you unless you have the clients. And then you also need to adhere to the wishes of the investors, because they provide the money, the oxygen that you need to be able to execute on this vision. So maintaining that balance is not freedom. Maintaining that balance is responsibility. But it's very important to be able to maintain all of those simultaneously, or you will fail. And that can seem to be fun to do because you feel like you're in that conversation with the investors. And the investors that we have, we're very, very, very lucky. They are global, international investors with a lot of global experience that they bring to the table. But it is a lot of conversations that takes time. And then you have all of the employees, and you need to get to a point where you let go of things. You have to let them do what they want to do, because they come and join a startup often because they want to have freedom of executing their vision and their dream within the part that they're responsible for. And then at the same time, you might, at the early stages, have a lot of conversation and interaction with your clients. And the scary part of that is when you have a software and you have a really good tech team that can build anything in days instead of months or quarters, is that you take maybe too much feedback from the clients to satisfy everybody. And then you get to a point where you now need to tie everything into a framework that works for most and not everybody. And trying to tie all of that together, again, is not freedom. It is decision making. Here you need to make the right decisions really, really quick as well. That fits everybody at the same time: the customer, the investor, and the team that is executing on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, when you were going into this new venture, you mentioned that the funding, did it help that you had already exited a company? Did that attract the investors, and was it easier when you had that success behind you?
I believe so, because you have a proven track record. Just when you hire somebody, if you have a proven track record, you just trust that person more because they've done it before. I believe that helped. Absolutely.
Did you go straight in with a seed round, or how did you approach it?
So we started with a pre-seed. So we actually weren't planning to raise money at the time that we were raising money. We were trying to put the feelers out. We wanted to bootstrap the company to start with. So we tried to put the feelers out to see who would be interested to invest in us, maybe 6 to 8 months down the road. And very quickly, we got a lot of attention. And at that point, we didn't understand why. But as we were starting Qashio, there was 2 other companies that was doing it simultaneously. So it was like the flavor of the month for the investors, I believe. So they were trying to identify which one of these companies they should invest in. We didn't know how much everybody was raising. We had no clue really who they were. We didn't know what their vision was. It was like, being in the dark. But one thing that you realize when you have 2 other companies and 50, 60 VCs that all want to talk to you, like my previous experience.
Was it that many?
Yeah, it was maybe more.
All from the region?
No, internationally and the region.
That's a huge number.
Yeah, it was a lot of pitching.
What kind of phase was that? What year was it? 2021?
This was December 2021, yeah.
Okay, things were good then, because 2022 was kind of a slowdown in crypto, slowdown in markets, but things were at post-pandemic highs in 2021. There's a lot of money about. Interest rates were still low.
Yeah, interest rate, like you could still afford rent back then.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot of investment. So that was great timing then.
Yeah, I think the timing was good. And we realized during that period, and we didn't know how much everybody else was raising. And if you look at at that early stage, how much money should you raise? And we raised, the two other big players. One of them raised 3 times more than we did, and the other one raised 6 times more. Like when we finally found out, we were the first ones to announce that we had raised money, and that was a little bit stupid now that I think about it.
But maybe they gave more away. But yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just know that they did a really good job in their fundraising. So we realized, bootstrapping this is not going to work because we're going to have real competition. And to add to that, I am really happy that we have competition. It puts us, it keeps us attentive to what's going on in the market. We strive to be better than them. We're not always better than them. We learn from them. We learn from their mistakes. I'm sure they learn from ours. We learn from their successes and so on. But I think the competition that came up, I think it feels unlucky to not be the only one at the point. At the same time, we are lucky because we have all gone through the same journey together. And it is a good thing to have somebody to compete with. It makes you move faster forward as well.
Were the other competitors in Dubai or in the region?
Yeah, both of them in Dubai.
And what do you think of, there's been a lot of interest in fintech in the region, emerging market, but also fintech is a category that investors understand more so than, say, media or whatever. But than content. But what do you think of the current landscape of fintech? It's so broad, obviously.
Yeah.
And the companies that you're talking about are solution oriented, like yours. But like you alluded to at the start, you started off with this proposition, but now there's a whole other suite of products that you have, which shows how wide the fintech space is. Do you think that there's enough money has gone into fintech? Too much money has gone into fintech? What's your view?
I think for this region, I think there is a lot of space for a lot more money to go in. Because we are a little bit later than the Western world, we don't have the luxury of making the same mistakes, and the investors are more cautious when they invest here. So I feel that more money can go into fintech for many reasons. One is, the mistakes that have happened in the rest of the world, we have learned from them, and then you also have the difference between this region and, let's say, the Western world is the banking system here is a little bit more fragmented than it is elsewhere. The regulations, because of the international hub that Dubai is, or where Saudi is, and extremely fast-growing economies, the cost of adjusting to the regulation that exists cost more money than it would be somewhere where it is crystal clear how the regulations work. So we require a little bit more money, I believe, from a regulatory point of view. Because we also don't have the luxury of not following the regulations here, neither us or any of our competitors, because it's so new. We have to lead by example. And I do think if we do make a mistake on a regulatory bit here, it will be very difficult to come back from it. While if you look at it in the Western world, they go on for a couple of years before they get caught up, right? So to answer your question, I believe more money can go into it. I think there is a lot of fintech ideas that can help the region to become a much more developed economy in areas where the banks are not interested, or the incumbent players, the insurance companies, are not interested in building out something themselves.
Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity for, as you said, the SMEs, the startups, the smaller mom and pop stores or local stores, and also digital, right? Like the digital innovation. But a little bit around the timeline. So end of 2021, and then we'll talk a bit about what happened this year. But in 2022, when did you actually launch?
So we launched we started to test our solution around June, in June 2022. We started to onboard our first clients on an alpha system in September 2022, and really towards end of November 2022 is when we started to onboard clients. So I would say 1st of December 2022 is where I would say that we really went live.
And, over a year later, are you where you thought you would be? Did you have KPIs, a number of clients, or what were the KPIs? Were there clients, were there retention, or was it actual revenue figures?
All of them.
Okay.
So from a growth point of view, we have beaten the forecast that we had, both in terms of clients and revenue. When it comes to where we thought we were going to be by the end of the year, in terms of the solution, it's quite different. We never thought that we would be able to launch our own insurance brand. We never believed that Emirates would actually partner with us. We never believed that we would be able to find a partner to fund the loans we wanted to give to our clients. So that was all planned for H2 2024, or H1 2024. So we moved a little bit faster. And as we've gone, and this is, I think, very important for a startup, is that you might have a vision and an idea, but you really need to be receptive to feedback of how the market reacts to what you're offering to adjust to that. Having two competitors that both started and actually grew to a third competitor as well. So I would say that in UAE, we are 4 companies that are doing what our first product was. When you have them, everybody needs to pivot a little bit into a space which makes them different from the other player, because offering the same thing does not work, because then it becomes a price war, right? Everything, you just have to drop your prices, you hurt your bottom line, your top line, and all of those things. So everybody started to pivot a little bit, still stay true to the core, but a little bit. So the solution is different from what we envisioned, and that's a situation that was created. And then the fact that we were a little bit faster, more successful in the adjacency of the products that we launched also made us different. But to go back to the growth targets, yeah, we overachieved. I'm lucky enough because it's been a tough year for everybody, and being a business-to-business solution.
Has it been a tough year? Because the economy is growing, like the Gulf is vibrant. What do you mean it's been a tough year? As in, it's just competitive, it's just dynamic.
Yeah, it's both, right?
And interest rates are high.
Yeah, the interest rates are high. I mean, that doesn't really impact us too much. A tough year for us is the economy is growing, and there are clients that you can sign up. There are partnerships that you can have. You have a very cutthroat, competitive environment. That would be difficult. Economy here growing, good. But now, with a growing economy and a growing client base, you also need more money. But where that money comes from is normally international investors, and they are going through a very hard time. So you cannot push as hard as you would if it was a different environment when it comes to
funding. Did you raise a second round?
We did.
So seed, you raised a seed round?
Yes.
And a Series A? No.
So the Series A is coming. It's around the corner.
So what's the total funding that you've raised so far?
So we raised a total officially that we have announced about $12.5 million.
And what's the size of the team?
Right now we're about 30 people.
Where does the tech be built?
So what we do is, again, a little bit different, is we decided very early on we want to have the full tech team locally instead of outsourcing bits and parts to it internationally. Oftentimes you do that to save money.
And you build everything yourself, proprietary, yeah?
Yeah, everything is built by yourself.
And what license and activity did you get for this type of company?
Oh, we have many. We have many.
Well, all the different things, yeah.
Yeah. So each activity that we do requires almost a different license. The good thing with UAE is it's very simple to understand. You go to DED's website here in Dubai. So we have a holding company in the IFC. And then we have subsidiaries on mainland. So you can go to DED's website with the help of your lawyers or with the help of your PRO, and you can very clearly identify, for the loyalty program with Emirates, I need to have this license and this activities. It's like clearly spelled out for you. So then you acquire that license, make sure that rolls up into your holding company. And then for the lending, you require a different license. And within that license, you require a couple of more activities. And now you need to look at how can I fit them all into one license. And if I can't, now I have to create separate contracts for my client. For this product, it's this contract. For that product, it's another contract. But the clarity on what is needed, I think, is remarkable here. It's easy.
Is your office in the DIFC hub there?
No, so our office is in Golden Diamond Park. The holding company is in the IFC. We don't really conduct any activities in the IFC. Um, because everything we do is mainland, we have our office on mainland.
And just two questions. Well, I want to talk a little bit about the Emirates part, but firstly, you said funding that to be able to provide loans for your clients.
Yeah.
What product is that?
It's a financing product. So we have a couple of different types of lending that we do. So we have partnered with Credible X, which is part of ADQ in Abu Dhabi. So they are the ones who carry the full lending license, right? So what we do, we act more as a broker. Let's call it that. So we funnel our clients based on certain criteria when they show interest to the Credible X team. And it's a fully automated program or system that sits in our Qashio software. And they then can provide factoring, so loans against invoices. They can provide working capital loans or asset-backed loans. And the money for it, they organize. So we don't take the credit risk. That is done by Credible X. So they also do the underwriting process and so on, which is very good for early stage startup like us, because trying to do that yourself adds a lot of distraction from the things that you can really control. And lending is a difficult space to be in to start with.
So, for example, if I have 20 people and I need Qashio's expense product, but I also need 100,000 dirhams, I can get that through you.
Yes.
What sort of and that's a really pain point, isn't it? Because banks don't give out that money. But do you have to pay for it? Like banks, it's hard to get loans from banks. If you even SMEs, it's hard. But if you're a startup, it's very hard.
Yeah.
So I guess you have to pay for it. But how high? Like, are the interest rates really high?
You know, if I compare the interest rates that we are offering compared to the banks, it's generally lower. And I think that's really because of the way that Credible X have, mastered the underwriting process. They look at it differently. From my understanding, a bank looks at it very traditional. And, whether in today's world, the banks, they want to make sure that they can get their money back based in case you default, you have assets they can take, right? But in today's world, we lease things, we rent things, we have freelancers, and so we have less tangible assets that the bank can convert into liquidity. While the way that Credible X approaches it is, okay, in your industry, if you have made this much money and this is how much liabilities you have, and in the past X amount of months, your receivables look like this, you might have a contract, and. They look at the future horizon, which is a very modern way of doing it. So it enables startups and SMEs to access capital to be able to grow faster. I don't know how their algorithm looks like, but it's really helping the startups and the SMEs to have access to something that they didn't have before. And the fact that they can do it so fast. I'm
sure that's a very compelling offering. Yeah, fascinating. We're almost out of time, so we'll try to squeeze in a few more questions. So right now, a customer would have been able to do their expenses on that product. Now they can do their insurance, they can get funding, they can get rewards for Emirates Skywards. And with outlook for 2024 around the corner, how many other products are you going to roll out, and what do you have in store?
I'll tell you a secret. I think this becomes the first time we say it out loud. So we are going to launch our payroll solution. It's more of an adjacency product to everything else that we offer. We already have a system for invoice payments within our expense tool. We are going to build that out to make it probably one of the most efficient and simple to use type of invoice payment tools in the market. And then we're looking to build out additional features on our software related to the needs, the more corporate needs, for the larger clients, the more advanced financial tools within the product. And I think the thing that will happen next year is that we are launching in Saudi early next year. So we'll be in Q1 next year.
Fascinating. I was going to ask about that, but and it sounds like that the vision is to be like a fully one-stop shop for corporates for fintech solution.
Absolutely. The whole idea is to be able to simplify the business essentials of mid-size companies. Mid-size is a range of 10 to 1,000 employee type companies, while parts of our software is really, really built for the large enterprises. I don't see one of those mega enterprises to buy insurance from us, but the expense tool with the Emirates rewards might be right up their alley. So we're trying to fit our product to cover everybody, and at the same time, we never want to forget the pain of the smallest customers, the mom and pop shops and so on. They need access to the same tools, and that's where the simplified insurance comes in. That's where the free expense management tool comes in, and just to push for inclusion into the B2B environment when it comes to financial tools.
Finally, Armin, we could talk at length, but the region is known as an emerging market, and obviously as an entrepreneur, you're naturally optimistic and bullish. But let me phrase it this way: if the current trajectory that Qashio is on, if you had a choice of being right smack bang in the middle of Silicon Valley, London, Dubai, or Singapore, which one would you pick?
Dubai, no doubt, no doubt. People want to come here from all over the world, so access to talent that might have been difficult 2-3 years ago is no longer a problem. So they probably rather come here than many other places. And if you look at, if you just follow Smashy TV on Instagram, like every day there are government initiatives both in Saudi and in UAE consistently to make the economy more attractive and to simplify processes that previously might have been difficult. And one thing that you can see as a big difference in how both UAE and Saudi is developing is that even things that are hard in the Western world to do, they are trying to simplify it. They encourage you with different tools to be successful, not necessarily cash, right? But the tools, or if you do a good job, they guide you where to go and acquire clients. They are very open to partnerships. It's a collaborative business environment. I worked in Europe many years and in the US for many years. I haven't experienced this type of collaboration between organizations. The big organization care about the small organization in a different way than I have seen it elsewhere. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot for sharing Qashio's story. So many things I didn't know about. It's great to hear, but also to leave the year on a very positive note. And best of luck to you. Thanks, Armin, for his time. Work never stops when you're running a startup, and 2 days before the end of the year, he's just going back to his office now. He said after that to continue working. So it's great to see. It's great spirit of the city and spirit of startups. And these are the companies, especially in fintech, that will be making headlines in years to come, I'm sure. So it's brilliant that we're able to hear it from them as they grow. And that's really the essence of Smashy, for the driven, the dreamers and doers, as we like to say, the brand that likes to tell these inspiring stories. This was a Smashy Business production as part of the Gus's Media Podcast Network. Thank you to Ali Khalil and Masa, our producers, for bringing this together. It was live streamed on smashy.tv and all the smart TV apps at 11 a.m. on Friday mornings. It also then goes out on podcasts on Friday afternoons. There's an article in Love in Dubai on Saturday, and you can see all the video clips on YouTube and other places as well, on Instagram, TikTok, throughout the week. We'll be back next week with another episode as usual. There's lots of other things you can see on Smashy. We're streaming the local sports in the UAE as always, the basketball, futsal, volleyball and handball. And at the moment, we're sponsors of the national UAE basketball team, who had a big win in Egypt yesterday in the Arab Cup against Morocco. So Mabrouk to them. We're very proud partners of them, and hopefully they'll go a lot further in the tournament. For all you regular Dubai Works podcast listeners, it's been a pleasure this year. We haven't missed a week. There's been 52 new episodes this year, which is quite remarkable. 5 years in, over 250 episodes. So thank you to everyone. And please do keep listening next year, and wishing you all a wonderful Happy New Year.